Hello, good morning. We have a first class panel today. It's the name of well, you already saw the panelists that participate. The name of the panel is The New DNA of Logistics in the USMCA and COVID-19. Different times, I would say, no one expected what we're looking at right now. But the interesting thing is to be able to surpass these challenges and find the new opportunities that are there, that we just have to look at them. So I have a brief presentation of Colliers that I'd like to present right now. Okay, so these are just the numbers of how many people are part of Colliers. We are a commercial real estate company that we have a very large range of services that you can see on the next slide. Okay, tenant representation, landlord representation, corporate solutions. We also do valuation advisory. So we're, I would say, a full range commercial real estate company. In Mexico, we have offices throughout the country. So we say that we have basically a coverage from Tijuana to Cancun. Next slide, please. So this is basically the industrial and logistics services. We actually have we're doing last mile e-commerce. Of course, right now, logistics is very important. So we actually created a last mile team in which we put together retail brokers with industrial brokers, and it's becoming a very important group that is generating business for 3PLs and e-commerce companies. We've also been doing site selection for global companies for many years. As we said, landlord representation, site selection. We also do incentives negotiations as part of our industrials and logistics services group. Next slide. Okay, I'm part of the Logistics and Transportation Solutions Group, which is a group that is mainly based in the US. So we do visits to ports. We're always doing a lot of training, and basically what the idea of this group is to become logistics experts, but on the real estate side. Logistics is not our business, but we need to know enough about logistics to be able to service the 3PLs and e-commerce companies the best way. Next slide. Some of you might seen this map in the past. It's a map that we've published for over 20 years. And it's just a snapshot of Mexico's global companies. And you can, if you don't have it, if you'd like to see it, we'll be more than glad to send you a copy. Next slide. Okay, so now we're gonna start this panel with David Panko. So David is the head here. David, so go ahead, David.
Good morning. Thank you to invite me to speak with this important topic. We're dealing with two big things, the USMCA and the COVID. One was planned and one was not planned, but I'd like to tell you a little bit about what we do here at the Foreign Trade Zone. So let me bring this up here. Share. Is my slide showing?
Yes, your slide is on, David.
Perfect. Okay. So the Foreign Trade Zone is a program run by the U.S. Department of Commerce, and here in El Paso, we're grantee to run this program. And a foreign trade zone is a secure area in the El Paso area where goods can be brought in to and from foreign countries, and for customs duty purposes, they're really not in the U.S. for customs. We establish virtual boundaries that a company can be in to allow them to run this program, and it's a very good economic development tool to help businesses increase their bottom line and to help them optimize their global supply chains. So in a foreign trade zone, the first thing is you can obviously store material, but you can also exhibit material, do repackaging, you can do destructions, handle obsolete material, do repairs, you can manufacture, assemble, you can do testing and inspecting, and you can process equipment. It's probably the most dynamic program U.S. Customs has for businesses, especially along the border. And so what it does to help businesses is you can eliminate customs duties, you can reduce customs duties, or you can defer customs duties. A company that's in the Foreign Trade Zone program has the ability to file customs documents weekly instead of daily. It's a streamlined process with U.S. Customs for both receiving and shipping. And because running the Foreign Trade Zone program, there's some good security requirements, so it helps to reduce their bond cost. And a big benefit is also the inventory taxes you find in Texas are eliminated when they're in the Foreign Trade Zone program. So for many companies, that's a big savings. You can see here in our region, there's 3 foreign trade zones. One in New Mexico, Dominant County, a small one in northwest El Paso, and then our foreign trade zone, which covers the entire El Paso County, covering a couple different ports of entries. So this is especially a good program for maquiladoras because a company can bring material in to the zone at different duty rates and pay no duties, and then export that material to Mexico. So they've effectively paid no duties for their U.S. parts or the foreign part that came into the U.S., produce material in Mexico in the maquiladora, hit the content rules, and bring it back as a USMCA certified product. And essential, they paid no duties to the U.S. This is a really good program for a lot of companies. We have a lot of clients taking advantage of this in the El Paso region. And the China tariffs do not affect the duties. You basically eliminate that as well. One of the things we compete with Miami, New York, Los Angeles on foreign trade zones, and we're getting recognized for this year as one of the best infrastructure development free zones. There's a lot of infrastructure projects going on to help streamline commerce in our area. I-10 Connect and Montana Expressway are 2 of these projects that will help speed up the flow of material and make logistics companies get more trips per day than they currently do. We also put on big events. We do a Ciudad Juarez El Paso Trade Summit every year, bringing speakers and getting industry leaders together. And we also do what we call golf talks. We host it at the local golf course. We're bringing a speaker for lunch and invited about 50 to 75 industry leaders to interact with the speaker. So in a nutshell, in summary, the Foreign Trade Zone has savings opportunities for companies. They can save money on U.S. customs duties. They can save money on the merchandise processing fee. They can defer and save money on harbor maintenance fee. They can save money on brokerage fees and the Texas inventory tax. So whenever we talk to the directors and CEOs of the industry here, these are the numbers we're saying. Go look at these numbers. And if you're paying a lot of money, then we should look at your operation and see how to optimize. Putting more money to the bottom line is a big economic development for our region. And with that, I'll turn it back over to you, Rafa.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, David. Very interesting. And I'd like to remember the audience that you can send your questions to so we can have questions made to our panelists. So now we continue with Josue Roman. He is the director of SACSA, who is this is a company that manages customs and other related services. So Josue, please, you can start now your brief presentation.
Okay. Good morning, everyone, and thank you, Rafael, for the introduction, and the Mexico Now team for the invite. I really like the theme that we're talking about, the USMCA and COVID era. They're definitely something that has overlap, and we need to look for opportunities where other people see problems. But for those guys, or for those people who don't know us, SACSA, just a brief presentation. We are a customs brokerage firm. We are based here in Juarez and El Paso, but are currently dispatching customs in Manzanillo, Laredo, Querétaro, around 20 points of entry around the country. We are certified on the Mexican version of CTPAT called OEA, are an ESR, Empresa Socialmente Responsable, and we're very active members of CAREM Index and the CANIETI Chambers of Commerce. These are the points of entry where we currently do customs brokerage at. So it's not only land, we also specialize on sea, on ocean, and air. So we have definitely expanded over the past few years. And the thing I believe that makes a difference in why we're invited to this forum is because we specialize on IMEX or IMEX companies. We specialize on automotive and electronic manufacturing companies. There are other broker firms who might do perishables, food, but we specialize on IMEX or IMEX programs. And one of the things that, or advantages that differ us from other customs, is that we are able to help IMEX companies in all their compliance because we have our own IMEX program. At SACSA, we have an IMEX authorization for manufacturing and for logistics. So not only do we manage our own IMEX program, and we are able to tell our clients how to comply with an IMEX program because we have our own. And especially on these difficult times due to COVID, when a new company is trying to set up in Mexico, getting a new IMEX, it is complicated. It is way more complicated now than ever. It might take a year and a half, 2 years to get all the permits and licenses. So we sometimes help with that. We are some sort of soft landing for our IMEX program up to when they get their own. So of course, we also do warehousing and BMI. So we know logistics. We manage around 350,000 square feet of warehouse space here in Juarez and El Paso only. So afterwards, I think if opportunity comes, we'll talk a little bit more about how COVID has affected logistics, because we definitely saw a decrease in operations, a decrease in pallets coming in, a decrease in exports, a decrease in basically everything. It has definitely affected the economy, but we are working to get back on track. And this is my last slide. We also have an IT division. We are a little software factory. And this is very important because one of the things right now with COVID, the most important thing is technology. As right now, we're speaking through platforms, Zoom. We are speaking because of technology. So technology is definitely one of the main things that can help improve and bring the economy back and still be apart from people, keep our, not travel, stay home, stay safe. So that's definitely what technology brings us, and that's what we have. So that was a little intro about ourselves. Thank you so much, Rafa.
Well, thank you very much, Josue, for your presentation. Very interesting. And now this our last panelist presentation, Eric Marqueset, who is the CEO of Tsol. Go ahead, Eric.
Yeah, good morning, and thank you very much. I'm going to share my screen here. And okay, can you see my my green and red screen?
Yes, you're live.
Okay, I'm live. Good. Thank you. I've got 3 slides. I will focus on the first slide for now, which is a brief overview of our company. Tsol is a consulting firm focused on supply chain management and technology adoption. We're based in, we're incorporated both in the US and Mexico. We're based in Mexico City, and we have clients in throughout Mexico and in Andean region, particularly in Peru, Central America and Caribbean. And our focus, as Josue said, technology is the word of the day in terms of COVID and post-COVID environments, and that's an area that we're focusing on. So just a quick overview of what we do. We are also a value-added reseller of different technology solutions. We represent different software, enterprise software companies. We don't develop any software ourselves. And as a reseller, how I explain to my friends and family what I do is that we are the tailor that takes the cloth and creates the suit. The cloth is made by different software companies like Oracle or High Jump, which is now Kerber or Pink. They produce the software and we make the suit a la medida to suit the client. We adjust it. And the little boxes on this slide that you're seeing are an overview of what we work with. I'll go around this clockwise very quickly. We represent and implement warehouse and transportation management solutions. So this is to manage freight, cargo, and warehouse activity. We also have a direct store delivery solution. So this is for companies that need to deliver directly to changarros, to small retailers. We have a yard management solution that optimizes all the activity inside a yard, patio de maniobra. We also have a transportation rate benchmarking service so that one can have an understanding of whether or not you're paying the right freight rates within Mexico. We have a distributed order management tool, and I'll get into this when I discuss some of my points for today. And this is basically to help traditional retailers optimize their fulfillment of e-commerce orders, which is a very, very complex question to do it effectively and remain profitable. We have Internet of Things solutions, technology that's related to IoT. We work in supply chain network design. We represent a digital map company. We also have voice picking solutions that complement a warehouse. So that's a quick overview of what we do in Tsol, and it's the basis of what we do that I have my comments. And so I guess that's my introduction, Rafa. I'll wait for your signal as to when we can discuss some of our prepared comments.
Okay, thank you very much, Eric, for your brief presentation. And now we're going to start with questions to our panelists. As I mentioned before, please send us questions so we can enrich the type of questions. Some of these questions have been prepared by the panelists, but we also welcome any questions that anyone could have. Okay, and so I would start with David. David, for sure, right now, cash flow is a problem for many companies. So I saw that your presentation is very much saying, I can help you save money, right? So,
That's true.
So a very important thing right now for companies to be able to be as productive and I would say as efficient with their cash flow as possible. So tell us a little bit about that. How can you help companies be more careful with their treasury?
Well, what we ask the companies to do is to have their finance people pull up the numbers and help them build a business model to determine, does this program help you? Many companies are spending money thinking this is the normal way that business works, And then when we show them where some of the money is being spent, they realize that this program can help them. If they're paying customs duties, or one of the big ones is the merchandise processing fee, that a lot of companies can save that money, put it back to the bottom line, and it really helps to optimize their business. Putting 1% down to the bottom line is a big number.
Okay, great. That makes sense. And I'd like to now move with Josue and ask him about your USMCA. How has USMCA affected the logistics in the, as you're saying, the maquiladora industry?
So yeah, the first of the two topics, right? The USMCA, like all treaties, the real and long-lasting impact is not in the few months. It isn't. It takes years for it to come. So there's an immediate effect on simplification. We have a new certificate of origin. Well, we don't have a format anymore. So basically, you can have your information, your origin from USA and Mexico in a napkin. There's no format. So there's definitely some simplification going on. It has helped a little bit the crossing times. But the most important change, of course, comes from the automotive industry, going from an average of 62% in the rule of origin for automotives up to 75%. So that definitely is the biggest impact that comes to logistics, because we have to increase our supply chain, increase our components, become real productions, and import less from Asia. So a real impact, it's still yet to come. The big impact is still yet to come. It's gradual. It will take some time. But with international commerce has always taught me and everyone, we convert a wall into miles of opportunity. So we are still working on it.
Very well. Thank you. Thank you very much, Josue. Eric, everybody has been talking about how COVID has basically made a big impulse on technology. And I think that's basically what your company is about: technology, implementing technology in supply chain. So tell us a little bit about that, and how have you helped companies with the technology that you have to offer?
Okay, thanks, Rafa. In anticipation of the topic, I prepared a couple of slides to talk about the COVID effect on retail and manufacturing. Can you guys see the slides?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I'll go over this. Hopefully this addresses your question and perhaps some others. So what's going on in the retail sector from a COVID perspective, and how is technology affecting or could affect this? First of all, the retail sector is greatly challenged, and it depends very much on what sector. So if you're a department store, you're suffering and sales are down 70%. If you're a supermarket, you actually did pretty well in the first few months, and now you're back to normal. It all very much depends on whether or not you're in an essential or a non-essential activity. And it's very much focused around customer experience. So we've got two fronts for customer experience in the retail sector: store execution and e-commerce. Store execution, well, what has COVID done? It's affected the changes in schedule, the capacity to receive customers, the handling of products and customers. But we also have the e-commerce, which has been obviously accelerated dramatically. Mexico, we were kind of behind, quite frankly, other Latin American countries on this front, and this is now, COVID has forced us to move quickly. And what do we mean by e-commerce? Every single one of you who is confined and quarantined has had this experience. And what retailers are having to do is how to enhance the customer experience from a product selection perspective, product suggestion, and the delivery. And product selection in the store. You know, if you're a Mexican or a supermarket, then you have to. The folks who are in the store need to pick the tomatoes the way you like to pick your tomatoes, and that's actually a highly complex problem. So there's much complexity to e-commerce. And then if you're a department store and you want to fulfill an e-commerce order, that's a highly complex issue, which I'll get into in just a little second. What's interesting is that we see new players and in the field. So we've got traditional brick and mortar retailers who are struggling with e-commerce, where they were probably behind the curve. And then we have delivery companies that have exploded. In Mexico, we have companies like Rappi, and eBoy, whose sales have really increased dramatically. We have Corner Shop, which is a company that'll do the picking for you in the stores. And then we have some pure players like Justo, which is a brand new online supermarket, and what I'm calling hybrid players, because you see companies like Rappi, who traditionally focused on delivery, they're starting to create their own sources of product, retail product, with day stores and dark stores. The one thing that's very complex for retailers is the order fulfillment. So when you click purchase on your screen, the brick and mortar retailer has to decide, where are they going to source that product from? Is that going to be, first of all, you as a consumer can decide in some cases, are you going to pick it up or do you want it delivered? And if you pick it up, then the store needs to know, does it have that inventory and in what store? And if you want it delivered, then the retailer has to decide, are they going to deliver it from a nearby store, or are they delivering it from a distribution center, or are they going to deliver it directly from the vendor? These decisions are incredibly complex, and every single option has a different impact on the margin on that product. So this is where technology can have a great impact. We call this distributed order management. So the tool, a distributed order management tool, needs to understand it needs to have visibility to the inventory in the distribution centers and the stores. It has to understand the cost of the delivery, and it has to instruct the operation on how to fulfill that order. It's very complex, and we've seen an increase in interest in these types of tools.
So Eric,
Yeah.
technology is definitely the game changer here. So I would think that the companies that already had the technology that you're mentioning are definitely the ones that are being more successful. How are other companies doing the catch up? And I also have seen that some other companies are doing JVs because maybe they don't have the technology or they don't have the distribution. Can you give us some examples of success stories in those cases?
Well, they're definitely. This has definitely been the test of those companies who anticipated or were ahead of the game in technology, and those that were behind the game. So companies that have traditionally been scared of technology and have preferred to operate with Excel spreadsheets and phone calls have definitely had trouble catching up. And because you can't adopt technology from one day to the next. All of these solutions, these are enterprise applications. Normally companies spend about 6 months selecting a system and then 6 to 12 months implementing the system. So, COVID came upon us very quickly. They were either ready or not ready. And some of the companies that have suffered, some of the department stores, we've been in conversations with a few of them, and some of them are facing class action lawsuits because they're not fulfilling their orders, and customers are angry. And while they're trying to select a distributed order management system and implement it, they've lost clients, and they've lost their brand has been tarnished. So companies that have allied themselves with perhaps third-party logistics companies that have been ahead of the game on some order fulfillment technology are the ones that are probably better positioned to survive what we're experiencing now.
Okay, and I'm coming back to Josue. Josue, tell us a little bit about the bottlenecks at the border. Has the USMCA affected, and COVID getting across the border for the trucking system?
So yeah, it has definitely affected. It has definitely been longer crossing times. maybe 6, 8, even 12 hours to cross one truck southbound most of the times. When it used to be 30 minutes, maybe an hour at most. So it has definitely suffered. And why has logistics suffered from COVID? So this is the second topic. And I mean, it's a whole range of things happening because of people going home, people being sick. Like we had less people at the border, less truck drivers, less everything. So yes, it has definitely affected. There are bottlenecks in every single port of entry, but this is
And how can you, how have you helped companies with that? How have you been able to um, make the border crossings faster?
so.
Yeah.
It comes down to exactly what Eric mentioned. It is all about technology. Mexican customs, believe it or not, is one of the most advanced in technology wise. Like the ESAT, our customs, there has a platform to dispatch customs without paper, without a single paper. There's a possibility if you have the right tools and the right truck driver and the right customs broker to dispatch a truck without a single document. Everything goes electronic. So if you use that technology, there's a specific lane at the bridge for those kind of brokers, and it goes faster. Like we're able to cross 30, 45 minutes if using that technology called PITA. It's not being used. Not everyone implements it, but it's there for us to use. So if we go and we choose the technology lane, a technology implemented lane, crossing times are way faster than the regular lanes for paperwork. They take hours and hours.
Okay, great, thank you. And David, now that we're talking about bottlenecks going across the border, tell us how the free trade zone has also ways of helping companies with their logistics.
As far as the free trade zone helping a company with logistics, you're not going to see a lot of benefit there. But when you look at what's going on in our city, in our region, there's a lot of projects going on to increase the infrastructure so that these zones can be used better. The industrial parks are easier to get to. Talking about bottlenecks, though, the biggest thing that we see here in our region is access to the cargo lanes coming in from Mexico to the cargo lanes to take advantage of the FAST program, where a truck can cross much quicker. There's bottlenecks that allow the truck has to wait a good hour or two before it gets to the point where it can immediately go to the fast lane and then cross in less than 2 minutes. So there's a lot of issues there. Another big issue we're seeing here in our region is they just built the largest cargo processing center on the border of U.S. and Mexico. Unfortunately, no cargo can cross because there's no highway leading to the Tornillo Bridge. And so that's a big opportunity, big challenge right now for the future of getting product across faster and easier, because for logistics companies, being able to utilize a driver more than once per day, more than twice per day, really affects the ability for logistics company to serve their customers and make a profit.
Mm-hmm. What has been the change that you've seen with COVID right now on the free trade zone, David?
We've seen a lot of volume reduction. There's been a few of our clients that are in the essential area, like medical device and stuff. Their volumes have not been affected. But a lot of our automotive clients, their volumes have been severely slowed down. They're not able to get the product. We're seeing production being moved out of Mexico from some of these clients because they are not allowed to build it right now in Mexico. These are due to the restrictions from the governors of the states being deemed non-essential. So that it's affecting all of our industry along the border, and we can't wait for this restrictions to be lifted. And what's interesting is overall, we're seeing a larger volume moving across the border today with restrictions. And so we know that when these restrictions are lifted, we're going to see a huge increase in volume. That's coming.
Mm-hmm. So you see that increase mainly automotive, but you're saying medical devices, that's something that has moved much faster, and there's a lot more volume because of COVID, correct?
Much, yes.
Any other industry that has been positively affected by COVID?
No, pretty much we've seen the medical device industry best affected. I mean, as far as good for them.
Yes, and Juarez for sure is one of the cities, border cities, that have a lot of medical devices assembly and production, as well as Mexicali and other border cities. So we definitely see that medical devices continues to grow, and it's something that the volumes are increasing tremendously. So Josue, tell us a little bit more about SACSA, and why, how has SACSA been able to cope with COVID and help your clients with COVID and also USMCA?
Okay, of course, logistics, it is considered an essential activity, because for logistics, you can be doing logistics for medical devices, for food, for energy. So logistics is still considered an essential activity. So we have not stopped working throughout the whole COVID area, but we have worked differently. Sending people home, especially in Mexico, the culture of working from home is definitely not easy. It's definitely a huge responsibility having people at home and still doing work. So managing to not stop one single day from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. still attend to our clients has definitely been a challenge. But we have been there to dispatch every single day with the work from home technology, from only a few people going in, and as I mentioned in the previous question, we are pushing our clients to use the technology lane. Some of them have done it, and they have seen an increase in crossing times or reduction in crossing times.
Has this restriction of having non-U.S. citizens or residents go across the border affected, you'd say, the U.S. side and the Mexican side of the border? What can you mention on that? And we are all guessing when that restriction is gonna finish. And what can you say about that?
They keep adding a month, and then another month, and then another month. So
yes,
it has affected time-wise, because if you're work-related, if you have a reason to cross, like our people still cross every day. And they are Mexican residents, not U.S. citizens, and they cross every day. But it takes them 2-3 hours to cross. So we get there a little bit later than usual to the warehouses to do the revisions. So it slows down the whole supply chain. But we still cross. It just takes longer.
So you're being able to get across, but you need to have a reason, right? You have to explain the customs agent that.
Exactly. You have to have the paperwork for that specific day, exactly what you're going to do, and you are able to cross. But it is way, way longer. Like lines for the people, they're 3 hours there, 4 hours.
So what is your best guess when that restriction is going to be lifted?
Probably in January. Probably in January.
Probably in January. What about you, David? What do you think?
I hope sooner. I'm not going to bet on it, though.
Yeah, so you think it might have something to do with the elections or not?
I do. Texas is opening up, Florida is opened up, Tennessee's opened up, so we'll see. We do have New Mexico that's probably the most restrictive.
Yes, very well. So, very well. I'm switching over now to Eric. So what would be your recommendation for companies to leverage on technology, Eric, under these new circumstances?
Well, I think that a lot of companies have, if they were hesitant before, I think they're now being forced to look at technology as a way to navigate and survive in the current situation. Companies that, what's needed, companies need flexibility, and companies need visibility in order to survive. And the only way to obtain that is through technology. So by visibility, I mean, if you're in manufacturing, then you have to have an understanding of what's your inbound supply chain, what are your, what's the situation with your vendors, and outbound. Technology can also enhance demand planning, and I think that something that is very important in this environment is we've seen huge changes in demand, both in the manufacturing and the retail sector. So if you don't have powerful, perhaps even artificial intelligence enhanced demand planning that'll allow you to understand what could be the interest in your products, then you're reacting slowly. So that's an area where technology can help. There are many areas, whether it's demand planning, inventory management, transportation execution. The visibility and control that you get through technology is useful. So my recommendation would be for companies to think about where were their bottlenecks, or where do they experience bottlenecks today, try to understand what tools might exist, and then go through the process of identifying, sometimes you might need a third party, an independent third party to advise you, because selecting technology and implementing technology is not easy. I mean, that's what we specialize in, and we know how difficult it is, and it can be intimidating, but it's not something that you can continue avoiding out of the intimidation.
For sure, fast tracking technology is not something that you can do easily.
No. Dangerous.
Yes, yeah, it could, yeah, it could backfire to you. Yep. So, and you mentioned that it could take months actually to select and then to implement, right? Can
Yes.
you give us an example of some of the companies that you've assisted recently with this new COVID, and how have you been able to shorten the implementation time with them, and what we'd like to hear some good stories, because right now it's like companies that don't have the technology, what is the solution? What are the options they have?
Sure. Well, what you can do is segment an implementation in different phases. So we just started the implementation of a transportation management system for a very large third-party logistics. It's actually a global freight forwarder and third-party logistics company in Mexico. And they wanted a transportation management solution implemented by January. That's quite frankly impossible. It's impossible to have that done right for a project that started in September. So what we've done is we've created a project where we have different phases, so we can identify specific operations that can be implemented by January, so that the company can start doing transactions, but then integrating with other systems. We're going to roll that out in February, March, and April. So generally, I'm in favor of segmenting or using phases. A big bang approach to technology implementation is riskier. We're also doing another project for a trucking company in Mexico that similarly wanted to accelerate the implementation. They serve the automotive sector, and they wanted to be ramped up for when they particularly work with Nissan in Aguascalientes, and that's ramping up with the larger volumes. So quite frankly, from our perspective, it's we have to tell some of our clients, hey, no, that's not wise. Let's chop up the implementation in different phases and do it and reduce the risk. That's what we try to do.
And have you seen cases of JVs on maybe having these companies that don't have the right technology right now, just doing a JV with a technology company, or even a competitor that that they might be saying, hey, let's do a JV and so they can do a much faster implementation of the technology? Is that something that
I
you've
haven't
seen?
seen that specifically, but what I have seen is this is a great opportunity for third-party logistics companies. Because
Okay.
one advantage of the 3PL that has invested in technology, particularly in their warehouse and the distribution network, they can support, they can help a manufacturer, they can help a retailer because they've already made that investment. So I definitely seen activity in that area where, for example, a department store contracted a significant third-party logistics company in Mexico to take care of all of its e-commerce fulfillment because that 3PL had that technology. So that's probably the fastest way to accelerate the use of technology.
And I would think that there was already a trend of manufacturing companies having 3PLs help them with all their logistics or supply chain. So that was something that was already happening. And I guess one of the reasons for that was exactly the technology that 3PLs have been implementing in the past years, and the savings that they can have with supply chain. So with supply chain, for sure, there's always a better way to do things and cheaper way, no?
Sure.
And
Sure.
so that's something that has been interesting. David, I'm coming back to you, talking about supply chain. I guess you also have some good case studies on supply chain and how you can make help companies save money.
Yeah, we had a new client come in recently, a big healthcare provider, and once we talked with them about how the program works, they looked at the entire global supply chain because they're in Europe and Brazil and Asia and US, and they rearranged their supply chain to really take advantage, and it helped them improve, one, their supply chain, and two, to reduce a lot of cost. So it was a really good thing. That's one good case study for us.
Yes. So tell me, so that can you explain a little further that case?
Well, when you start laying out all your fees that you're paying, you know, the operating costs of customs duties and your logistical costs, and you start looking at where am I producing something? Where could I better move it to take advantage of savings on customs duties and things like that? They start realizing it's time to shift some things around. Companies get, you know, comfortable in moving. They set something up and they run it for years and they never go back and look and see, is it still working? And so by taking a good look again, they start realizing things have changed. It's time to bring in technology and bring in those third-party logistics companies to help us really streamline our logistics capabilities.
Mm-hmm. So you also help. You also work, of course, with 3PLs, and you're part of the supply chain of the companies, right? You know.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
We have quite a few 3PL clients in using the Foreign Trade Zone program.
Okay. Tell me a little bit about the inventory, Texas inventory tax savings that can be achieved.
So Texas has the Freeport thing that says if you move material into and out of Texas within 185 days, you won't pay the inventory tax. But so every year at the end of the year, a company has to submit what percentage of their inventory did not meet that requirement. And most companies have a number like 50% of my inventory was not moved in that time period. Therefore, it's subject to a 7% inventory tax. If that inventory is in a foreign trade zone, the number is 0. So we have quite a few clients that are saving millions of dollars a year on the inventory tax.
So it's in the millions of dollars. That's how you can see it. And,
yeah, it could be anywhere 100,000 to millions, depending on the company.
And what are companies doing with obsolete inventories? Because that I think would be a challenge part of, you know, paying. It's already obsolete, and then you're also paying inventory tax on that.
Right, so that you don't pay inventory tax on that, and if you're in a foreign trade zone and you destroy that material or dispose of it from the foreign trade zone, you don't have to pay duties. Normally, you have to pay duties on a foreign product to bring it into the country and then get rid of it. So there's that big savings there again on customs duties.
So from how many different countries does product come in and go out from your free trade zone? I mean, what
About
is the
85
range?
countries.
How many?
We have about 85 countries, materials coming in and out of the foreign trade zones, and our clients represent about 50 some companies.
Wow, that's very impressive. Very impressive. Okay, so I'm going back to Josue now and Saxa, and we'd like to ask you, Josue, about some recent case studies in which you've been facing USMCA challenges. So what can you tell us about that?
Okay, there's one specific and very particular case when it comes to sugar.
Okay.
Sugar was negotiated a little bit differently on the USMCA than it was on NAFTA. So there is definitely a challenge between US, Mexico, and Canada to avoid tax, people trying to avoid the tax by saying it's Mexican or saying it's Canadian, saying it's from the USA, even though it's from South America. So to avoid that case, they implemented new rules. And we have 3 big sugar clients in which, with the day before USMCA was going to come into effect, they were simply going to stop operations. Like, we couldn't find a way to make the pedimento. But we found a way. So sugar, there was a negotiation. But they wanted to make sure that no sugar from outside of those 3 countries came into the region, and they made a good work on that. So US tells Mexico every single time that sugar goes out of the US into Mexico, they have 2 days to tell Mexico that some sugar came out. And Mexico also has 2 days to tell the US that sugar goes out. So they're very much in communication when it comes to this new product.
Okay, so we'd like to have some final words. We're coming to the top of the hour. So let me start with Eric.
Final words. Let's see. Well, I'm a technology proponent, and I know I sound like I'm. Well, that's what I do. I sell technology, so I make no. I don't hide the fact. I mean, Josue spoke about technology. While I'm not familiar with what Saxa does, I think it's very likely a good example of a company that seems to be investing in technology precisely so it can help companies, clients that are not yet there. So I would say that both from in the COVID perspective, the new normal is going to be different than what we've seen. So let's be open-minded about what the new circumstances are, and if anyone needs any help on the issue of technology, please give us a call. If we can help, we'd be happy to. If not, then we'd be happy to suggest alternatives in areas where we're not experts. But thank you very much, Rafa, and Mexico Now, for an invitation to participate today.
Thank you very much. For sure, I would say some sectors and some companies have actually benefited from the current situation, and for sure, that's your case. So, and David, final words.
Sure. Thank you for the opportunity to be here today. This is the time with these 2 new items, USMCA and COVID, for companies to really take another look at what they're doing for supply chain. Using technology is a really great opportunity to help bring more to the bottom line, and using third-party logistics to help them squeeze more out of their operations, or streamline their operations really, and optimize them, is the smart move. Both of these, technology and logistics operations, that's where all the expertise comes from. You don't want to roll the dice inside your company and hope you get a guy who's good at it. It's better to go and get the people that are experts. So there's a lot of opportunity coming up.
Thank you, David. And Josue, your final words.
Oh, there's definitely a big trend, like David mentioned, and for 3PLs, for outsourcing, for going out and looking for the people who know how to do their jobs. Believe it or not, I have a background in computer science. I was actually a software developer in Silicon Valley before becoming a customs broker. So everything that we do, our warehouses, our customs, our human resources, we invest a lot of technology into that because that's the background that I have. And the way to help avoid, I mean, get out of the COVID area and the USMCA more strict rules is definitely that go for technology companies who have invested in technology and who have specific work niche. Like if you're manufacturing, do a VMI, outsource people. Definitely focus on your main core. And thank you so much, Rafa, for the invitation. A pleasure talking with David and Eric. Thank you, guys.
Yes, well, thank all of you. This has been for sure a very interesting and enlightful panel. It's clear that we all agree that technology is the game player now. If you're not with technology, if you don't implement technology, you're out of the game. And there's many different ways, and if you can implement technology in your company, but you got to move fast. You got to move fast, and you got to do it, or else the competition, it's just going to kill you. So I'd like to thank the three of you, and of course, I'd like to thank Mexico Now for putting this webinar together. And anyone that has any questions, please send them. If right now we're coming to the turn of the hour, but we can answer them afterwards. I would be happy to do so. And so I think now we have a final slide, correct, in which we'll show our contact information. So anyone that wants to just send us an email and need to know want to open conversation with Taxa or the El Paso Free Trade Zone, of course, Tsol and Colliers. So can we display now, please, the final slide, the closing slide? Okay, perfect. Thank you very much. Okay, well, thanks everyone, and have a great day, and hope to see you soon. Take care.